Hey guys, it's me again. I'm here to give you some specs for the airplane. Um, I'll give you a flight review of yesterday's flight, and also I will update you on maintenance that we are doing as of right now. Alright, so the specs. We have a 1979 Piper Aztec F. Normally, or sometimes they will be turboed. The engines will be turboed. Ours are not. Also, if you know anything about turbo engines, they tend to burn out quicker. So it's actually a plus for us. You lose a little bit of your service ceiling though, and you lose some speed. But for our airplane, I'm using AOPA. I'm using their specifications. Alright, so engines. We have Lycoming IO 540s. They're 250 horsepower for each engine, and they are 6-cylinder engines. They have 541.5 cubic inches of displacement. Our engines are fuel injected. We have constant speed props, and we can carry 144 gallons of fuel. Each individual tank is 34.3 gallons, and minimum octane fuel they say is 91. We always use 100 low lead gasoline, just regular aviation fuel. Fuel burn is about 28 gallons per hour. We get, sometimes it all depends, sometimes you get more fuel burn than that, so you'll burn sometimes 30 gallons per hour. Sometimes you'll only burn 26. We've noticed we're right around 26. We burn about 26 gallons per hour, which is a lot for a twin-engine airplane. But I mean, it's a really powerful airplane. Also, empty weight. So with nothing in the plane extra, like no headsets, no people, no tie-down kits, none of your extra oil, without a toolkit, just empty plane, is from anywhere from 2,700 pounds to 3,000. It all depends on the airframe. Useful load for the airplane is 2,000 pounds of, that's like people plus baggage plus whatever, up to 2,000 pounds, around 2,000 to 2,200 pounds of payload, which I'm not sure that these specs are completely correct. As I said before, it all depends on what airframe you have. Baggage capacity, here we go. It's about 300 pounds. So for, say, it's a six passenger plane. Divide 30 by 6, you get 5. So that's 50 pounds of baggage per person. Alright. And alright, so here are the speeds. Max cruising speed is around 172 knots. Normally we go around 160 or 165. And stall speed is 64 knots. That's also the rotation speed on takeoff. For the stall speed landing configuration, which is when you're coming in at a stall, it's 54 knots. For the smaller engines, I do believe for us it's 59 knots though. These are kind of specs for geeks. If you like all this cool stuff about specs and all that, then this is for you. If not, then you can skip this part, because then I'm going to do a flight review, and then I'll do a maintenance update. Anyway, service ceiling. For us, we can't go above 8,000 feet because we don't have oxygen. Now, if we had oxygen, these engines are good up to around 20,000 feet. And I'm running out of breath. Alright, that's it for that. So those are your specs, and that's our airplane. So now let's go back. Alright, so what happened? What happened yesterday when we were flying? Alright, so what happened yesterday? We were doing some autopilot tests and maintenance, checking to make sure the autopilot and all the instruments were working. Those checked out perfectly fine. So we had it all signed off. We're about to come home, and we go through our pre-flight checklist. All that checks out. It was all good. Then we get in the airplane with all the stuff loaded up, and we turn on the left engine. You can turn on either the left engine or right engine. It just all depends on how you feel and which one starts better. Normally you start your better starting engine first. That's just at least how we do it. Anyway, to the point. So every time you start your engine, you check the systems that run off that engine. You check your alternator, hydraulic pump if they're run by the engines, and any other accessories that are running on the engines. So we checked the hydraulic pump for the left engine, and we figured out that it wasn't working, or we at least didn't think it was working. The way you check that is you push the gear handle into the down position, and it should spring back to the neutral position. Well, it never happened. So we're like, okay, this isn't good necessarily. But we knew we had a redundant system, so there's always, normally in aviation, there's always two of almost everything. Not all the time, but most of the time. So on the right engine, we started it, and we tested the hydraulic pump, and it was fine. It worked perfectly like it was supposed to, like it had always worked. And so we're like, okay, let's get it back home where we can service that left hydraulic pump. So we get into the air, all right, because we should still have gear and flaps and everything that runs hydraulically. Well, we get into the air, and we go to pull the gear up, and we pick up the handle. You just let it run like it normally does. You go through your checklist, and at the end of the checklist, it says check that gear up, all right? But we checked, and they were still in the down position. So immediately, we went to turn back, and then we decided, well, there's no maintenance here. Nobody's going to be able to fix it here. We're going to have to move the airplane anyway. And since we were already up in the air, we're like, okay, let's just fly it home, and we'll service it there. And so we just left the gear down. Problem with that is that with the gear down, you can only fly at or below 130 knots. So it was a very slow flight home comparatively to what it would have been with the gear up. So we're flying home, and the weather's decreasing. It was still good though for, minimums for VFR and all that. But we got in, put it in the hangar, and we're like, okay, let's research this problem, make sure we're doing everything correctly, and we're going to get it serviced. So today we called our mechanic, and we got his personal advice on what we should do, and then if we couldn't do it, he would come down and fix it and sign off on it. Well, he's gonna have to come down and sign off anyway, but he's gonna let us normally do the work, and he's gonna sign off. So after we did that, we went and got tools, and then we got to the hangar, and as soon as we opened the door, we noticed a puddle underneath the airplane. At first, I thought it was fuel leaking out of the fuel vents, which, is normal if it warms up or anything. And we finally realized that the color wasn't right. It was hydraulic fluid. And there's a main line. There's a main line that runs right there between the two wings. So you have your hydraulic tubes that run between each wing, and then you have your selector that opens the valve and pulls the gear up. Well, we opened the panel to look at the lines, and it looks fine. The problem is there's other lines that we can't see unless we pull out the interior. So we're going to have to pull out the interior to see what the problem is. And so that's on the agenda for tomorrow, and I'm going to try to keep y'all posted. I might take some video updating you tomorrow, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. It depends on how long we're working on this. So I think that's it for right now. I'll see y'all when I upload next.